Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Right now, we're going to talk to one of the big personalities here in South Florida. I wish everybody could be here in the studio. I know you're seeing him on Facebook Live, but if you met Anthony Kulp, you'd know that he is a Mr. Personality. So have you always been this way, Anthony? I have to assume you have been.
I guess.
You don't just do this for our radio show.
No. This morning I woke up extra perky for some reason.
Oh, perky, Mr.
Even
Perky.
though it was at 5:30 in the morning.
Right,
Not my
Mr.
favorite time.
Perky. Well, of course, and the weather has been so hot, and it's been hard to be perky. It wasn't so bad this morning, but you are in a very hot profession. And I've, of course, being a realtor myself, I understand the hard work, but you do get lots of joys when you help people, don't you? Oh,
when you get somebody in the right home and you check back with them 3 or 4 months later and you ask them, how do you like it? Do you like it better? I just sold a guy a place. He was downsizing and he moved into a townhouse. And it felt like he was settling. And he missed out on the place that he really wanted. He bought this other place. And the whole settlement didn't go really well. And I checked in with him 30 days later, and I said, how do you like it? And he said, oh, I love it. It's just working out great. And I felt so much better to know that he landed in the right place and he's making it a home.
Well, when you take people around and they're not quite sure, they're very confused, I think you're the kind of person that gives them a list. Okay, well, first you're like a psychologist. Well, what have you really wanted from this? Where have you been? What have you done? And that's what makes something a lot more satisfying.
Right. You have to ask, what do you do? Do you work? Let's find something close to your work. Florida has a little bit of a traffic problem. Do you like to go to the beach? Let's find something that has easy beach access. Do you golf? Well, let's get you a little closer to your favorite course. So it all depends. You don't want to. Some people will want to live out west because they found a bigger home, maybe in a newer home in a nicer development. But if the majority of things that they're doing is on the east side, eventually they're just going to say, oh, I don't want to drive through the traffic, or it's not a good time, and they're going to warehouse themselves. And that's the worst thing to do. You need to get out.
I'll tell you a personal story. When I was selling real estate for Arvida in the 80s, Itzhak Perlman was one of my, I was taking him around, and he thought he wanted to be on the beach. Mm-hmm. So we were looking at condos on the beach, and here, everywhere we went, had to drag his leg, and his family came. It was a thing, but eventually he wound up at Boca West because he really needed that kind of an environment. And so it took, though, days and days for him to go through that whole thing of going and seeing all these places on the beach, but he wound up outside where there was a golf course and where everything was really more suitable to him.
Well, when I first moved here, or when it was our second home, I had a townhouse. But we also had a single family that we were renting out that was going to be our future primary. And after a hurricane, we had gotten rid of the other properties and decided to move into the house. And we were sitting by the pool one day, and I said, why didn't we just move into here earlier? And the reason was we thought that the maintenance when the house was sitting empty was going to be too high. And it turned out that it was, we simplified the landscaping, and we hired the right people to check on the house and the landscaping. Everything worked out great for years until we finally moved in year-round.
And something I know about you, you really do care about older people. I think if you had had choices, you probably would have been a geriatric physician. But in this case, you've taken and you've done some interesting things as a broker. I know that people who've had pets have great concerns, and you were writing articles about pets, and that was really wonderful. But now you have some other concerns. Let's talk about them.
Today, this is a little bit outside my realm, but it's still housing, and it's probably the most important housing that you'll have in your life. And these are called personal care homes. And the definition of a personal care home is a home it's almost like foster care for older, senior citizens. And it could be as little as somebody taking you into their home, and they would be paid, depending on what stage of life you're in, as little as $1,500 or as high as $5,000. And then there are other homes, and these are single-family, privately owned homes, and you could have as many as 10 people living there at different stages of life. And you could have somebody living there who maybe has vision problems, and they only need care with eating or preparing meals or maybe some transportation, or there could be somebody there who has dementia. My recommendation would be to find a smaller home with maybe 4 residents, and residents that have similar that are at similar stages of life. So maybe you'll have somebody with a vision problem or somebody with a hearing problem, and it's much easier for the person who is managing or the caretaker to give the same amount of care to everybody and not spend a lot of time with one person and the rest get neglected.
So now we're talking about larger homes, though. I mean, let's just say you have sold some big homes to people.
Correct.
And there are 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 4-bedroom, 4-bath.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something to consider now for people to think about this. They could change their home, instead of selling, change it into a personal care home.
And not only that, it's income. You know, it's if you want to stay in your home, you know, you can pay some people can pay as little as $1,500 a month, and some as high as $4,500 a month. And it all depends where the home is, how nice the home is. There's services. If you're in a home where they give you transportation to doctor's appointments, you know, maybe exercise facilities, and you just get that extra care, you're going to pay more. Now, most of these homes, it's all out of pocket, whether it's the resident or it's a family member paying it. But it's cheaper than a senior facility, and it's not institutional. Although the senior facilities now are beautiful. They make them very home-like. It's not institutional. It's not hospital. You know, they're not like hospitals. But these homes can range from sharing a room, sharing bathrooms, to having your own private suite, you know, bedroom, private bathroom. You want to make sure when you're finding a home for a loved one that it's handicap accessible, grab bars, wide doorways. They can age in place. You want to make sure that you don't put them in and they break their hip, and when they come out of surgery and then physical therapy, they have a place to go back to. And you also need a plan when they do get to a certain stage of life that they have another place to go, where it is a hospital or a senior care facility.
Let me just tell you again, this is Anthony Kulp, K-U-L-P. He is your #1 realtor in South Florida, and he does this full time. This is not a game for him. He's been doing this for 35 years. He lives in the Palm Air area, but he will handle anything, anywhere. So you can hear that he really is a senior real estate specialist. That's very important to know that. He's not just, didn't decide just to take care of seniors. This is something he's worked very hard on. Let me give you his phone number. Remember, this is Pencil Talk Radio. Write it down, 954-815-9048. Again, 954-815-9048. You can call him even if you want information. You may not be ready right now for something. You may want to rent. You may want to buy. You may want to sell. But maybe you have some other questions about real estate, taxes, or things. So call him. He loves to help people. That's the thing I've loved about him. He always says, buy smart, sell smart, and live well.
That's right. That's right.
Well, let's just continue with what you've been talking about now. The one thing that I'll share something else with you. My grandson, he's a school teacher in Michigan, he's been taking care of his 101-year-old grandmother.
Wow,
now,
good for her.
The family had enough money that they've had her in a beautiful facility where it's like pods, and she has dementia, and probably there are 5 to 6 people in a pod, and there's well staffed. They pay about $8,000 a month.
Right.
So it's what you were saying. You know, if you don't have that kind of money, what do you do? And I saw something the other day where someone was coming from the doctors, and the wife, an older woman's taking care of her husband, and he had dementia, and he was screaming, and it's very hard, and I felt sorry for I felt sorry for him. So you don't want that. You need to be able to have someone there to help you.
Well, and you know, in this day and age, both people work. Or if you're a single parent, how do you take care of your parent and your kids?
Badly.
Right. And in some cases, it's cheaper. If you're taking care of your father and he doesn't drive and you're running him around everywhere, and it's only because maybe his vision isn't, he can bathe himself and he can do everything else, but he needs just that supervision to help with cooking. you know, if he's living in an apartment, I mean, a decent apartment now is $1,200 a month. Plus he has food costs on top of that, plus what you're losing in work time and the driving around. He could go into one of these personal care homes for maybe $2,000 a month. And that's going to include food and transportation to doctor's appointments, entertainment, and he's not going to be isolated. Somebody who has vision problems who, especially if they get vision problems at an older stage in life, they're going to have a hard time with the CNI dog. Most cases you do not see a senior citizen with a CNI dog.
No.
Just the care of the dog, having to learn how to use the dog. You may see a senior citizen with a cane, but mostly it's only to make sure they don't trip and they're not going to walk to the store with a cane.
We have quite a few people watching. Gary Polk is on, and he says, "Good morning." He's a financial, he's a very important person. He helps people with all their financial problems. But I have someone else on here that just got on. Sheila Hasefield is someone I've known for years, and she makes her home, I think, in maybe not Bali, but some other place now, and she comes back and forth, and she's a stunning woman, so she's on too. So you never know, who's watching you, but you're worth watching.
I'm glad Gary's listening, because if somebody goes into a personal care home, I would recommend not giving them authority for the person's finances. Have somebody else maintain the finances.
Good point.
In these homes, and you're going to start to hear more and more about them, and probably what you're going to hear is, not in my neighborhood. Somebody is going to say, I don't want this in our neighborhood. This is a business. You can't do this. And
it's not a business. There are people living in a home. It's not a business.
There are homes now for people with MS
yes,
and other diseases and ailments. They're very, in the vast majority, are very well run. But
condominium associations may give people problems if you want to put them into a condo.
They may, and condo rules, which are the bane of my existence, they may say a certain rule, but the state supersedes their rule. So if the state says it's okay, the condo can't say that.
Oh, see, there you go. You did this with the dogs too. I love you. You are the kind of person, if someone wants to have something to talk about like that, you are so good at examining. But that is true, and finance is where people really do get in trouble because they don't know better, and so, yeah. Sheila says, I still live in Bali. Gary Polk says, oh, and we have other people watching you. It's good. Well, you are a star because you have taken a business where a lot of people, I live in a condo where I see the real estate people coming in and going out and going in, but you really... I think you love this as much. I mean, you have to get paid, of course, but you probably do this even if you couldn't get paid because you're so happy doing this.
My whole life I've gravitated towards older people, and I'm in South Florida, and you have transition. I've been full-time realtor in Florida for 4 years now, and I've already moved people from larger homes into condominiums, and now helping them out with finding the right facility that they're going to move to. A lot of people don't have family members down here, and so it's been
Here's a phone number, folks. Get this number down. Put it on your refrigerator. You never know. Don't call him if you're looking for a new car. That's not what he does. Anthony Kulp, Kulp, 954-815-9048, and he will go up to Palm Beach County. He'll go down to Miami-Dade. It depends. It just depends what you need, what you're looking for, but you can be assured that he's honest and he's very forthright, and he's been working with us now for about a year, and so I trust him a lot, and I'm very happy that he does this. You're something, and I don't know, it's very personal, you shouldn't probably share it, but you were very sweet talking about your mother who just passed away,
right,
and you must have had a lot of influence on helping her with what she had to think about.
Right. She was up in Pennsylvania outside Philadelphia, and she did the proper estate planning, which is so important. I just got a listing yesterday from a woman who passed away, but her family is in Massachusetts. And they've come down 4 times so far to try to get her condo emptied out. And this was the last time, and they couldn't do it. And I said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I have people who are going to take it. I'll make sure it gets to the right donation areas. And I have 2 charities that I really like. One is a drug rehab. that's run by, I believe, Faith Farms, which
That's
is
my place, Faith Farm, yay!
And another one is a food bank. It's a thrift shop for a food bank. So they're very good about coming out, taking the stuff. And when I call, they know that it's going to be a big donation.
Yeah.
Because usually it's,
the whole house full of something.
Right.
See, that's the sad part when people don't come down to finish it, because there's been money found in people's homes. You know that.
One of the big things that I should be a crisis manager, because I always bring up the worst case scenarios. Weapons. People have weapons hidden in their home, and in your will you should state where these weapons go. They always end up in the wrong hands. And
I never even heard about this.
And you'll have a weapon and, it was my great-grandfather's service revolver from World War I. We can't get rid of it. But disable it so it can't be. So if it does disappear and gets into the wrong, it won't work. Oh. And criminals do not take weapons to get fixed. Yeah. They get rid of them. They throw them out. So if you want to keep the service revolver and you're not using it, then have it disabled so it can't be used.
Wow, you're good. You just never stop, do you? Well, let's you were saying something though about people who have been downsizing, and and sometimes they really don't know where to go. Do they go to the beach? Do they go out west? What makes those decisions, really?
Well, I think the main factor is who's going to help me. Many people, when they get into their 70s, depending on their health, will move back to Ohio. I have a friend who just moved back to Ohio. Excuse me.
Hawaii, right?
Yeah, he probably wishes. And he spent a few years up there. I think he moved up a little early because he was very healthy. He works out and doesn't need any assistance whatsoever. And he came back after 3 years. He just couldn't take the weather. So a lot of people will move back closer to family. They're not moving back to move in with family, but they just need that support around them. It makes them more comfortable. They like being around people they can trust, and in that situation. Other than that, if you're staying in Florida, prepare. I'm 54 years old, and I already have an idea where I'm going to be when I become around 65. I plan on traveling. I don't need a house. I don't even need a large condo.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Do you know that there's some people, I don't know any, but I've heard the stories, who cruise all year. Yep. It's said that it's cheaper to get on a cruise ship because they do have medical help there.
Right.
They have everything. They have the food.
I had a client that was in between homes for 2 months. It was cheaper for him to go on a cruise ship than it was for him to rent.
So it is true, right?
Oh, he loved it. He was catered. Everything was there. He could eat anytime he wanted. There was a pool. And when the ship would pull into port, he rarely got off. He just stayed on the ship.
See, because now there are great prices. And so maybe this isn't something we talked about, but maybe this is a new way to retire too.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to, you may have to get into a business called cruise brokerage. I don't know what it is, but you have to think about it.
I had another client. Her family wanted her to buy a condominium, and she said, "I don't want the responsibility. I'm going to go on a cruise for 3 months." And the cruise lines give great deals also.
If you do that,
they don't advertise it, but if you call a cruise line and you tell them, "I'd like to be on the ship for 3 months," of course, ships go across the Atlantic all the time. So if you want to stay in this hemisphere, then you have to make sure you're planning the 3 months, maybe on a ship that's doing the Caribbean over and over for the 3 months. But you might not want to do a transatlantic, although they're very inexpensive cruises.
Right, but when you think about it, there are some cruise ships that actually go for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But that's, now that's another, I think what you said, you started off when we were talking before you got on the show, the baby boomers at 10,000 baby boomers, people are turning 65.
Right.
Every day, they say, right? It's hard to believe. But
we're becoming baby boomers, and I'm the last year for baby boomers. We're becoming the largest group of people in
1963? Is that
64?
64.
It's easy to remember. Now I forget.
I think
it's 42 to 64, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so you're a different idea, but the younger kids have different ideas too.
Right.
They're not going to go they're going to go kicking and screaming into these senior communities. They're not doing that.
Well, I don't know. They're a little more educated. They're visiting their grandparents that are in these facilities.
I think what they're going to do, though, is invent something different.
Most likely.
Because they don't want anyone telling them when they have to go to bed, when you can come in, when you can't come in. I mean, that's the one.
And you'll see new things. It's already evolving now with personal care homes.
Lloyd Hassner is now watching. He's been a big real estate developer a long time ago.
Well, he should look into this. He may want to do, if he's doing a development, he may want to say, oh, well, you know what? 1 out of every 25 homes in this development I'm going to build with handicapped doorways and handicapped bathrooms in the new construction, and not have to do a rehab.
Well, something that I wanted to pick up on that. Now, I'm actually renting an apartment, and a 3-bedroom apartment. What I did, the first thing I did was, in both bathrooms, I put in grab bars.
Right.
No one should live in, I don't care how old you are.
That's right.
Without grab bars. Don't plan on pulling on the, on the towel rack.
And grab bars are very decorative now. I had grab bars in my house.
Right.
You would think
They're
they were
beautiful.
just towel racks.
I did the same thing, and but so what you started doing is very important. No matter where you're living, there are things that you can do to make your life easier.
I think eventually it'll be code. You'll see grab bars in all showers, and they'll be decorative. They won't have that stainless steel institutional look anymore. Matter of fact, I think most that sell don't. That's probably the generic brand compared to all the decorative ones they have.
Yeah, they have colors now. They have all
colors,
sorts of
designs. You can match your toilet roll holder with the grab bars and your regular towel bars. In our house, we had the towel bar was also a safety rail. But you didn't know it. The towels were hanging on it, but it was right by the shower where you get out. So when you're stepping over the tub, you can hold on.
So it was
something.
Strong when it was done. That's the whole part of it, making it strong.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I think you brought up a good point that I don't think doorways are made narrow anymore, are they? Aren't they all made?
For a wheelchair, you really need a 3-foot doorway.
But why don't they do that anyway? It would be a lot more attractive than have a tiny doorway.
Well, typically a doorway in a home is 2'6".
Doesn't have to be, does it?
By code, that's typically.
It could be larger. It just can't be smaller.
Yeah, any egress doors entering or leaving the home have to be at least 3 feet wide.
Okay. So. Yeah. Well, but there's so many other things that can happen. Just like going outside, they have all these high curbs, and they're not even.
Right.
Everything should be marked.
Yeah.
In the condo, when you go down the stairs, sometimes they all look the same. They should have little lines that show where the step ends.
Well, a step shouldn't be any higher than 7.5 inches. I think code allows for 7 3/4. But as you get older, that's that 1/4 of an inch can mean a lot. And also the tread has to be at least, I think it's 11.5 inches.
You really know these things.
I'll go to a condominium that was built in the 50s, and I'll go up the steps and I'll say, these treads are awfully small. And I look at them, I think, these are only about 9.5 inches, 9.5 inches. Well, most people's feet are larger than 10. And, sometimes you'll notice if you're going up a staircase and you trip a lot on that staircase. If you got a tape measure out and measured it, you'd see that those treads are probably 10 inches.
And I want to ask you another question. Elevators.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they go out. They're not taken care of properly.
Right.
And what do you do about that? Because there's big condos with 2 elevators and one's out.
Yeah.
And that's serious. And then during the hurricane season, it's really serious.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't recommend any senior citizen to live in an evacuation zone. And if you do, leave. There's no reason to stay. If something happens, you're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop. If you can stop a hurricane, call me. You probably make sainthood.
Right. No, but you're right. And everything shuts down. And you could be really up there in your high apartment. Unless you live in the first floor, be very careful. And then, of course, it gets flooded.
Yeah.
It's great. Anthony Kulp. He's Mr. Personality, Mr. Smart Guy in the real estate business. If you're thinking about doing anything, buying, selling, his number is 954-815-9048. And I'm going to give you his website. Let's see, your website. What's your website?
It's Anthony at realestatesofl.com.
Isn't that your email?
Oh, that's my email. The website is realestatesofl.com.
Real estate F-O...
S-O.
S-O.
Like the abbreviation for South Florida.
Okay, because, so I wasn't giving your email out. Okay, so just get this number. That's the easiest thing to do. It's 954-815-9048. It's the K Company Realty, LLC, Anthony Kulp. Thank you. We did it again.
Yeah. We jumped around a lot. Sorry about that.
No, but you brought up a lot of very good points. Start making your plans now.
Right. Plan.
And also make sure that you talk to someone who knows what they're doing. Don't talk to your neighbors about it.
Yeah.
Call Anthony. He'll steer you right?
Right. And a lot of the information I got today was from seniorliving.org, which I found to be a great website.
Okay.
And you can go on if you just type in their search engine, personal care homes.
Okay.
You can see the article.
Thank you.
I wanted to mention the author and I forget. But.
That's okay. Well, we're off the air now. We're going to go to our next radio show right after you're turned off. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.